question is, are we live? Are we live on the air? I think we're live on the air. I do think we're live. Let me turn this off. I'm going to do my normal spreading it out to social media and things. Let's see what we are here. Here we go here. Post this. Post this. Post this. Yes, we are. We are live. We are indeed live. So, what are we going to talk about today? We're going to talk about a lot of cool things. Let me just go over here real quick and spread the news. Let me get this out to a bunch of groups real quick. Make sure everybody that wants to know what we're doing. Let's see here. Couple more places. Share there. It's weird because there's a lot of different places that have "the" in the title, and you got to search by "the." Well, let me just see here. There we go. That one. Well, we'll share it to everybody today. What the heck? See how things are going. And then we're going to do our usual countdown. And we'll go from there. I think we got enough. We will be back to celebrate directly. Let me just see. Oh, here we go. Of course, we're going to be celebrating Happy New Year's to everybody today. But first, we're going to do our normal countdown. Be back in a few minutes.
Stomping over
There we go. Midnight's almost here. Well, the new year's almost here, and one of the things we're going to talk about today is what is on your wish list for Final Cut Pro for 2024. We got our first comments. Hi from Belgium. There we go. Hello from the Netherlands. So we got Belgium and the Netherlands already. Here's a nice comment. Good morning, Richard. Thank you for all the Final Cut Pro info and shows this year. I want to upgrade to 7.1, but sounds like there are still problems with it. Well, if you're going to update to 7, you probably should do 7.1. Well, there's always going to be bugs in every version of Final Cut, in every version of every piece of software. None of it is bug-free. So there's always going to be bugs. Back up your current version of Final Cut Pro, back up your libraries, and then give it a shot. Give it a shot. Try it out. But I haven't had any real issues with it. Of course, 2024, we're going to be dealing with Final Cut Pro 10.7 the entire year. I'm sure at least a year. Typically, that goes 2 years, so we'll probably be dealing with Final Cut Pro 10.7 for 2 years. But this is the era of Final Cut Pro 10.7. It starts now and continues for the next year or so. Thank you very much for the thumbs up already. Look at that. Hi from Winston-Salem, North Carolina, our friend Don Stafford. Looking forward to 2024 and more Final Cut Pro updates. So yeah, so absolutely. So 2024, well, I'm not sure exactly. Thank you very much for the thumbs up. Thank you very much. I'm not sure exactly what bugs are left over from 10.7.1. I'm not seeing anything. Everything's working pretty smoothly for me on 10.7. Of course, the scrolling timeline is the biggest thing that I really like. Let me just turn this on. Oh, let me see what I got here. Let me see. Here we go. Final Cut TV. I want people to know that we're in Final Cut TV land. So this is number 46 of Final Cut TV and Coffee. Thank you very much for the thumbs up. Keep them coming. Absolutely. This is number 46. I've done 46 of these on Saturdays throughout the year. Another 8. And we'll be 1 year. So I guess I started in February, something like that. Last year, we'll be 1 year old in when we get to 52. Paul says, hello from Connecticut. We got people all over the worldwide Final Cut Pro community tuning in here today. We got all kind of stuff going. On. Of course, the main thing is, I want to find out what you're on your wish list for Final Cut Pro for 2024. So the Final Cut Pro team tunes in to this broadcast. Of course, they can't comment, but maybe in incognito they comment once in a while. Maybe. We'll have to see if any of that's true. There we go. Made it, coffee in hand. Brett from Brett FX, my friend that I met at the Final Cut Pro Creative Summit. He was on the last episode of Final Cut TV Live, and we had a good time. Talked for 90 minutes, hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes, something like that. There's another thumbs up. Excellent. So I was surprised when we got to the Final Cut Pro Creative Summit. I was not expecting the scrolling timeline to be the big ticket item in 10.7. I said, well, we're going to get the scrolling timeline turned on at some point. For some reason, I didn't expect it in 10.7. So we got the scrolling timeline being the big ticket item and some other ticket items as well. But I was expecting, here's what I was expecting, and I'm now expecting it in 2024, text-based editing / auto captions. That's what I'm really expecting as the next big ticket item feature. Text-based editing and auto captions, because they should be together. There we go. Paul says, I'd like to see more free effects in the next update. Free effects, you mean like in the effects panel? Is that what you're talking about? That's always good deal. Free effects. My wishes for 2024 is to be better at using Final Cut Pro for my educational videos. I hope that people who do use it more often than I get some of their wishes fulfilled. Absolutely. Well, your wish as well. Your wish as well. Thank you very much for the thumbs up. It is appreciated. We'll be back, So here's two things. So we started Final Cut TV and Coffee almost a year ago. I think February. It'll probably be our 52nd. I think I took 1 or 2 Saturdays off. Other than that, we've been here every single Saturday, and you've been here every single Saturday. So we're celebrating our 1-year anniversary, I think, in February. Yeah, probably February, maybe March. I don't know. But Final Cut Pro Radio, we're starting our 9th year. Our 9th year in January. Now, within those first few podcasts of Final Cut Pro Radio, the very first one was Sam Messman. And then soon after that, for some of you old timers, we had Ken Stone on. If you remember, Ken Stone had the great Final Cut Pro website, kenstone.net. It was the best Final Cut Pro website ever, in my opinion. Now, he stopped right around when 10 came in, but he was really, really good. It was a really good website. I have a close friend who works on the Pro Apps team, and they told me that there is a weekly internal meeting where they discuss what was discussed on your live streams. There you go. First off, we want to say this, so the Final Cut Pro team that watches. We love the Final Cut Pro team. You are the best NLE team anywhere in the world, as far as I'm concerned. I always enjoy meeting everybody at the Final Cut Pro Creative Summit. They're the friendliest bunch of people. They were so enthusiastic the last time in 2023, and I expect that to continue. They said they have plans for the next 6 months for Final Cut Pro and plans for the next 5 or 6 years. That's what their roadmap is at this point. So welcome, Final Cut Pro team. Everybody on this stream appreciates everything that you do. Now, we wish we had features a bit faster. That's not going to change. We understand that you do the updates according to your schedule. We understand that, but we're still going to give you little pushes. But anyway, so we're going to talk today about what people are expecting in 2024. 2 things I'm expecting. Text-based editing / auto captions. They should be together. As important as accessibility is to Apple, I'm kind of surprised that there's no text-based, there's no auto captions at this point, because everything needs captions nowadays. I have to go to Resolve to do my captions. I find Resolve very easy. We have our friend Alex Raculia from ulti.media. He has a very, very cool captioner in Final Cut. I have the copy. I have to play with it more before I can talk about it. So that's very cool, but we also want it built in, because I knew I'd go to Resolve because Resolve was very, very easy to do captions. What is Ken Stone doing today? Anyone know? I loved his website. Ken is retired. Ken retired at the point when Final Cut Pro 10 came out. I had the very first Final Cut Pro 10 article on kenstone.net. But soon after that, let me just pull it up. Let me just pull that up. I did a lot of articles for Ken. Let's see if we can pull that up. If it's even, I guess it's still up. But I talked to him. There it is. I talked to him right after when Final Cut Pro 10 came out. So let's go there. And let's go here. This was, let me turn these cams off. Cam link 1, 2, 3, 4. No, that one stays on. This one goes off. This one goes off. This was the great, it's still up, mostly dealing with Final Cut Pro 7, but it also was dealing with. So new releases, let me see, there's nothing there. Here we go. The very first, I have a lot of, you can see here, I have a lot of articles on, you can see here, a lot of articles on there, but the very first Final Cut Pro article on kenstone.net, ta-da, it was my article on the rundown of Final Cut Pro 10. I put it out, and as soon as I saw the videos that were leaked out of there, and I had the very first article on kenstone.net about Final Cut Pro 10. Me. That's been a while ago, but I had a lot of articles on kenstone.net. There's another one. There's the very first one. I beat Steve Martin there. I got 2 here and here. I had a lot of articles on there. I used to write for him all the time. Lots of articles on kenstone.net. But in any event, he's retired. He retired shortly after I did the interview with him. I did a podcast interview. You look up Final Cut Pro Radio on iTunes, and you'll see one of the first 5, I think, I interviewed Ken Stone. And I don't think he's been heard from since then. Thank you very much for the thumbs up, everybody. It's appreciated. Yeah, he had a great website. A great website. When I create favorites from a portion of a clip, I'd like Final Cut Pro to be able to create handles automatically, and I would choose the length, say 5, 10, 20 frames. Absolutely, Eric. One of the things, yes, absolutely. Batch export. Select clips, favorites, whatever, batch export, adjust the in and out point of those clips with handles. Adjustable handles, 5, 10, 15 frames, whatever you want. Batch export of clips, not the entire clip the way Final Cut does now. Batch export of selected in and out points. That would be very, very handy. I would use that all the time. Absolutely. Yeah, flashbacks. Well, it was a great website. Ken Stone was a great website. I used to go on there all the time. So, you want to listen to his interview? Final Cut Pro Radio. And it's on the podcast section of iTunes. And look up Ken Stone. Let me just pull that up real quick. I'm not sure what number it is. One of the two. It's got to spell right in order for it to come up. Let me pull that up. Here we go. Continue. Yes. Continue. Yes. Final Cut Pro Radio. CP Radio. I've been on there for quite a while. So, let me pull this up. I'm just curious what number he was. He was one of the first ones, I know. I know he was. So, let's go over here. MacBook. Here we go. Here's the... So, we have 142 episodes. Let's see if it goes back to the very beginning. See all 149. Here we go. I've interviewed everybody in the Final Cut Pro community. Everybody. They can possibly have. Let's see where Ken Stone is. Come on now. He's around here somewhere. He was one of the very first ones. Thomas Grove Carter. Here we go. The very first one was Sam Messman. Ken Stone was number 3. 003. That's how early on I interviewed Mr. Ken. But he retired. He was He was in semi-retirement when Final Cut Pro 10 came out. Yeah, he had a great, so anyway, number 3, Ken Stone. Just so, I knew he was in the top 5, but I wasn't sure if he was number 3, but anyway. Our friend Jeff says, I moved from 7 to 10 and I loved it. I was able to do my surf projects in half the time. I liked it too. I did both. I did 7 and 10 together for about a year or so when I worked at the National Archives. I want that Apple create a beta program where pros can test new features and upgrades from bugs prior to release. I know it will not find all bugs, but they may do it as a closed beta with an NDA. They already have that. They have a beta program. I guarantee you they have a beta program. I know, I know that. I'm not on it, and I can't be on it because I come on here and talk about Final Cut Pro, but they have a beta program. Now, what you're saying is you like to see them expand, perhaps, the beta program. They might even have a 2-tier beta program. They might have 1 tier for people who develop plugins and another tier for editors. They do have a beta program, and they have professional editors on that. I know that for a fact. They do have one. Yep, I remember Ken Stone, great info back in the day. Everybody loves Ken Stone. Agree wholeheartedly. Ken Stone's website was an extremely useful resource. It was. And like I said, right when 10 came out, Ken was like getting ready to retire. So he retired shortly thereafter that. But I wrote a lot of articles on kenstone.net for Final Cut Pro when it first came out. And I had the very first article. on kenstone.net about Final Cut Pro 10. Thank you very much. So speaking of coffee, I switched my coffee so far. Thank you very much for the thumbs up. Appreciate it. So here's the deal. I used to get my coffee, something called triple threat. I like a very dark roast. Thank you for the thumbs up. I like a very dark roast as my main coffee, and I grind it fairly fine. I use an AeroPress to make my coffee. So I like a dark coffee, and I had been getting triple threat out of Furnace Branch or Furnace Hills Coffee in New York. And I messed up my scheduling. So I didn't, because it has to ship. It takes a couple days, sometimes a week or so. So I messed up my scheduling, and I said, well, let me see what I can find locally that's like that. I found something locally. Starbucks Italian Roast. It is superb. It is absolutely superb. Italian roast, whole bean, of course. So instead of worry about shipping and delays and stuff, what I do now, I order 1 or 2 pounds online and go pick it up. It's local. It's a couple miles away. It's Starbucks. So that works out really well, and I'm very, very satisfied with it. Plus, I don't have to worry about it, when they roasted it. It just roasted fairly quickly. Don't have to worry about the shipping and all that kind of stuff. So far we've talked about export with handles, which is really cool. Absolutely. I'm looking for text-based editing, auto captions. Now, here's the thing. I don't need text-based editing with a short video. I don't need text-based editing with I'm doing a music video. Nope, don't need it for either one of those things. When I'm doing a longer form video and it's mostly dialogue driven, that's where text-based editing comes in. It works fantastically. I use it with Descript. It's phenomenal. So you transcribe the video, all your text comes up. So I'm looking through it. I said, well, I don't want this paragraph. I select the whole paragraph and delete it. And I don't want this and select it and delete it. So it's good for making a rough cut, but not for music videos, not for live concerts. Thank you very much for the thumbs up. Not for short 2 and 3 minute videos. I don't need it for that, although the auto captions, absolutely. Absolutely, auto captions would be handy. It'd save me from I'm going to work with our friends, Ultimedia's transcriber. Thank you very much for the thumbs up. This week, get used to working with that, maybe I'll start transcribing right in Final Cut. Right now I go to DaVinci Resolve Studio. Hello from Windsor in England. It's stormy weather. I would like motion to have some attention. Your motion's been like the stepchild of the Pro Apps team, isn't it? Coming mainly Final Cut Pro, secondarily Logic Pro. Those have been updated consistently with major updates. I love both of those programs, Final Cut Pro and Logic Pro. Now, before Final Cut got the scrolling timeline, I would spend a little more time in DaVinci Resolve because it has a scrolling timeline on the cut page. It has a lot of other features. It has auto captions and stuff like that, which is really, really cool. But now that Final Cut's got the scrolling timeline, I'm staying in Final Cut more. I still want to keep my hands in learning DaVinci Resolve, and I love LumaFusion. That's another one that I'm really, really using, and I'm using it to edit on my iPhone. Edit video on the iPhone. Shoot on the iPhone, shoot Apple Log, shoot ProRes on the iPhone. With Pro Audio, record to SSD. I have this little setup here that I plug into the iPhone. SSD goes here. This is a 4-in-1 USB port. I can plug Pro Audio in, plug this into the iPhone. It works really, really, really well. It's compact when I need it. I use the 4 terabyte SSDs. This little guy, crucial, 4 terabytes. This thing is tiny, 4 terabytes. I can record on my iPhone with this. So I do that, and when I do that, that's what I did when I went to the Creative Summit. 1.5 terabytes of data I filmed at the Creative Summit. 1.5 terabytes. I make multiple copies, leave one copy on my MacBook Pro, and make at least 2 other copies. And I leave it on my phone because I got a 1 terabyte, phone as well. So I bought Transcriber when it was first released. It has some weird quirks, but their support has been great. They are very good. Yes, Alex is very good. They haven't fixed everything I've reported yet, but they are working on it. Yes, Don Stafford. So that's interesting. I want to try it. Now, Resolve is so easy. You take the clip in. I do my editing in Final Cut, although I can also do editing in Resolve. If I miss something or want to adjust audio, I can do that in Resolve as well. But I do my basic editing, spit out a video, full quality video, take it into DaVinci Resolve. In the browser, you click on the clip and you say transcribe audio, and it transcribes the whole audio into a paragraph. You can select it, delete it, select it, drop the clips in the clip, drop the clips in the timeline. Usually you just select the clips that you want, drop them in the timeline, one after the other after the other. They append to each other. When they're in the timeline, there's a secondary command. You click on the project and you say, do the captions, and then it does captions over top of the timeline clips. So you don't have to have captions over things you don't want. So I find it very easy to do that in DaVinci Resolve. I have the studio version, so it's not an issue. Time for coffee. This is only my second cup. This is only my second cup. That's unusual. I had to make a trip outside this morning. Don says the main issue is randomly some of the tests will be timed to appear up to a minute before it actually said. Some of the text, I presume you mean, some of the captions. That's what I presume. That would be, like I said, thank you very much for the thumbs up. Yes, that's what I thought. Text, not test. Yes, that's what I thought you meant. So, by the way, I'm streaming on Sonoma. So I want to get more used to Sonoma. I got most of my apps. I have a list of a dozen apps that I need to update every time I update my OS. To a major update. So things like 1Password, default folder, ClearShot X, CleanShot X is another one that I use. Neo Finder, I have to have that. Stream Deck, of course, Ecamm Live, Moom. I use Moom for my window management. text expander, pop clip. These are all things that I have to update. And then the biggest pain was my Universal Audio Apollo Twin X software. You got to jump through hoops, permissions, restart in this way and that way, and get that to work. Now I'm having issues going back and forth between Sonoma and Ventura. Every time I do that, I have to reauthorize my plugins. So far, with Universal Audio, it had to be reauthorized. So we'll see. Jeff Arbaio says, is there any way to transcribe and resolve and bring it into Final Cut Pro, and can you do it with multicam? Multicam, I don't know. How would you do it in multicam? You'd have to, I mean, if you had like 4 clips, well, as long as people weren't, I guess, talking over top each other. I don't know, Jeff, about that. And our friend Brett says, I'll throw this out there. We got so sidetracked on your last stream, we hardly got to our wish list. But round tripping to motion, why did they hire Wes Plate years ago anyway? Those are 2 separate questions. Wes Plate is no longer there with Apple. He left after 3 or 4 years, whatever it was. Wes and I are friends. We talk to each other occasionally on he's been on the podcast too. She's been on the podcast too. I love the Fall Tender. You should try Bartender. I had a license for Bartender, but I have another one that takes care of the icons up there. I have another, at least I did. I'm glad you reminded me of that. There's something else that I bought that takes care of managing menu items. Bartender, I have a license for that as well. So I don't know about multicam, Jeff. I haven't tried that. I have not tried that. And let's go back to Brett's comment. They got so sidetracked, round tripping emotion. Yeah, round tripping is, I mean, DaVinci Resolve does a phenomenal job because you're not even round tripping. Everything's open at once with different tabs. I would love to see that somehow incorporated in Final Cut, where you had motion tab, you had a logic tab, you had a compressor tab, and then you had a Final Cut Pro tab. Probably not going to happen. It's probably not going to happen. They probably can't do that with Final Cut, but anyway. Jeff says, what is Bartender? Bartender, you know your icon menu at the top of your screen in Final Cut? It manages all those icons. It manages the icons. And you can select which ones you want to appear. You can hide the rest of them. It's really, really nice. People always rave about Alfred. I've tried it, but can never get into it. I have Alfred. I've had that a few times over the years. I haven't used it for a long time. Brett says, not 2 questions. I thought for sure it was to implement automatic ducks around tripping. When Wes first went over to Apple, his plugins were free. The round tripping plugin was free for a while, and that's when I downloaded it. Yeah, well, I like things native in Final Cut, just like the scrolling timeline. I like things native. So, I'm not sure, because Logic is weird. With XML, it doesn't work with Final Cut that well. And the reason I found out is because, for my limited research, the XML that Logic puts out is not the most recent XML that Final Cut Pro puts out, because Logic doesn't care about video. Logic doesn't care what you're doing in the video. They're not paying attention. All they're paying attention to is audio. At least that's what I've seen. The Logic version of XML is not the same as the Final Cut Pro version. It's 2 or 3 levels behind. So it doesn't care about the video. That's what I've seen. I used to use automatic duck work with After Effects. That's exactly what I thought was being used. But I understand what you're saying, Brett. Let's go over here real quick. So I want to just do this. I had a little cough there. Still having something going on. Let's see here. Well, we got Brett. His Outliner FX2 is really, really cool. It's a really, really cool plugin. So you also can try it for free. I met Brett at the Final Cut Pro Creative Summit, and I said, I have some of your plugins. So I told him which ones I had. But Outliner FX is a very, very cool plugin. You can see the effect there, basically. And you can try it for free. So I recommend going there and at least trying it and buy it. It's really, really cool plugin. I like it a lot. I haven't used it that much yet because I haven't had a need to, but it's really, really, it's a lot of work went into that one. I'd like to see him get some more attention. So let's go back to there. Very, very cool. So what else do we have? Thank you very much for the thumbs up. 2023, we've been broadcasting Final Cut TV. Been broadcasting every Saturday for almost a year. Yeah, almost a year. Let me just check on that real quick. Almost a year. But we're talking about these third-party plugins for Mac OS. There's like a dozen that I need every time like I said, I'm on Sonoma and Ventura. I have a dual boot system. I have a 4 terabyte SSD in my MacBook Pro. And I tell you what, I'll probably get the 8 terabyte next time. But I have default folder. I use that, default folder X. I have Stream Deck plugin. I have, Carbon Copy Cloner. I use that. What else do I have? Clean text. So if you get a bunch of stuff in text, I can clean it up. Text Expander. I've been using that for years. 1Password, I use that. Clean Shot X, I use that. There's a whole bunch of them. And then my Universal Audio software. There's like a dozen that I have to, if I do that update, I have to update everything. And you got to go into security and permissions and get everybody permission. So it takes a while. It takes a while to do that. Brett says checks in the mail. I don't need a check. We're just friends. That's good. Hey, listen, one thing people will know about me that watch these podcasts, I only talk about stuff that I really like. And I really like that plugin from Brett FX. It's hard for me. It would be hard for me to promote something or talk about something that I didn't believe in myself. And that's what you'll find. If it is, I can't think of any time that I've promoted something I didn't believe in. The biggest problem I have with Final Cut Pro is when you buy third-party apps, every time you upgrade Final Cut Pro, the plugins have to upgrade, or they don't work. I don't think that happens in Resolve. I don't think that Resolve has a big third-party as Final Cut Pro has. Joking, of course, I understand. I don't think that Resolve, I think Final Cut Pro has a very, very wide third-party plugin support. I mean, I've got over 1,000 plugins. Of all kinds of plugins and effects and transitions, et cetera, et cetera. And I sure wish you could organize those in Final Cut Pro, drag and drop into favorites folder, turn some off that you don't use. I want them to stay, maybe put them in a separate folder somewhere. I mean, I can do that. Yes, I can do that in the Finder manually. Yes. Pathfinder is another thing that I always have to update. So that's another one because I like their Finder better than the native Final Cut. You can have 2 panels, for example. I have to do a clean OS install whenever I migrate to a new OS and never use the Apple update tools. That's what I do. So I made it's not a partition, it's a volume. I made a volume on my SSD and I installed a fresh copy of Sonoma on that volume. So it absolutely was a fresh install. The only thing I brought over were like passwords for my Wi-Fi and stuff. I haven't even brought my mail over yet. I'm not sure how to do that. Do I have to copy folders from the Ventura thing so I get all my mail? And I don't know how that works. Passwords are key in the keychain are up in the cloud, so that can be downloaded. But anyway, I did a clean install of Sonoma, and this is pretty clean. Ecamm Live, I use that, as you everybody knows, I use that now. But once I do that clean install, I re-download all these apps and start from scratch and re-download them and have to serialize them and all that stuff. So it's a bit of work. I'm pretty well caught up, although my Waves plugins are not updated here. My Waves plugins are not updated on this Sonoma. Every time I launch Final Cut Pro, it says you can't, or Logic, I launched Logic and it says you can't use the Wave plugins. So I have to go through that process with Waves yet. Have tried to see if a longer project exports faster under Sonoma than Ventura on your Mac? No, I have not. Apparently you need Sonoma for some of the speed improvements to take effect. That's interesting. I have not. I haven't. Usually it depends on what I'm doing. I'll export and just go do something else and come back if it's going to take a while. And if I want to keep on editing in Final Cut, I'll send it out to Compressor and let Compressor handle it. Or I make a droplet on my desktop from Compressor and just drag the file over top of it. That's another thing I do. So sometimes I do things and I forget how to do them, like transparency from Final Cut. Well, I did a tutorial on it. I had to go back and watch my tutorial to remember how to do it in Final Cut. Did you say Motion has a scrolling timeline? Absolutely. It's had it for years. It's had it for years, Brett. Logic has two. Logic, what the heck is that? Walgreens, I'll hang up on there. Logic has two scrolling timelines. In Logic, you can do one zoomed in to the entire project, and then you can do a one as the audio file. Here, let's do this. Let me go over to, it should be right into preferences. That's where it's been in the past. Thank you very much for the thumbs up. Appreciate it. Let me go over here and look real quick. If they took it out, it used to be there because I have a video of it. Channel content. Let me pull it up. Oh, you know where it is. It's on my website. Let's go over here. Nope, that's not it. Top request. Here we go. Let's watch it here, Mr. Brett. Now, if they don't have it, it's interesting, but they used to have it. If they took it out, that would be a surprise. That would be a surprise. Here we go. This is Motion. Scroll continuously. Now, if they don't have it anymore, they used to have it because here's the video. And of course, Logic has two. They call it catch playhead. So if it's not there anymore, it was there. I don't know if maybe they took it out. I don't know, but it's right there in the preferences. So you should do a post list of all third-party apps that you have. Some you mentioned I've never heard of. Jeff, I will do that, and I'll post it in. I will post it in our Final Cut Pro Radio Facebook group. That's what I will do, which is this one. Final Cut. Oh, that's 10.7. Let me get another one up. This one. That's still 10.7. Well, search for Final Cut Pro TV radio in Facebook, and you'll come up with our group. I'll do a list over there for you, the ones that I use. And these are mostly Mac OS third-party plugins that I use. Thank you very much for the thumbs up. It's appreciated. Thank you very much for the thumbs up. It is appreciated. And we don't want to forget this. Not that one. This one. Happy New Year, everybody. We want to make sure everybody gets a Happy New Year. Everybody celebrates New Year, I presume. But that's something that we're going to be talking about today. It's coming up this weekend. I'm not sure what everybody does for New Year's. I'll be staying home. We have a special meal typically, and we might do a little bit of fireworks. So what else do we want to see in Final Cut Pro for 2024? What else do we want to see? Anything special? Yes, something special. So I have a list of top 100 things that I'd like to see over there at Final Cut. Top requests. So here's the list. Okay, it's top. Final Cut Pro is my NLE of choice. After editing with teaching Final Cut Pro for 20 years, I'm an Apple certified Final Cut Pro trainer. We crossed the scrolling timeline off because we finally got it. This movie has like 12,000 views. When Final Cut first came out, it didn't have a scrolling timeline. Now, the interesting thing is, Final Cut for iPad does not have a scrolling timeline yet. Copy M is another one that I use. Copy M. I love Copy M. Let me talk about Copy M for a second. Copy M is a third-party plugin, clipboard manager. Here's one of the things that it does. You can copy things in Final Cut Pro. Thank you very much for the thumbs up. You can copy things in Final Cut Pro. Titles, transitions, clips, and you can save them in Copy M and make a special list. I have a Final Cut Pro list. I have a Final Cut Pro transition list. I have a Final Cut Pro titles list, customized titles, and you can bring them back at any time. They stay in Copy M, and you can do this with other. You can do it with other apps as well, but I use it for Final Cut. Transitions, titles, custom things that I make, and I copy them, and they stay in my specific. I put them in my. You can rename them, and I make a list of Final Cut Pro transitions, Final Cut Pro titles, Final Cut Pro other things, and they stay in the clipboard manager. You can use them anytime you bring the clipboard manager up. So Copy M is a big one for me. Let's go back over here a second. Talking about things. So here's you go. Pro audio features, audio mixer with master volume controls, text-based editing, project improvements. Now, this has been a head scratcher. Do you realize you cannot scrub a project in the Final Cut Pro browser? You cannot scrub a project in the Final Cut Pro browser. However, you can scrub a multicam in the browser, you can scrub a compound clip in the browser, and you can scrub a project in the share menu. When you go to share, the window pops up. You can scrub the project in the share menu, but you cannot scrub a project in the browser. They used to have a project library where you could scrub. It used to be down where the timeline is. So, Clip logger is something that I'd like to see when I prefer more controls. So I'd like to see the timelines. You can switch the timeline over to, so it's just going to represent the clip that you have selected in a browser and do things in the timeline rather than in the browser. I understand you can do things, but I'd like to do it in the browser. So I just call it a clip logger. It's like another mode where you select the clip in the browser and it appears in the timeline where the timeline space is. And you can do things. You can make your selections. You can do all kinds of things. That's something that I like to say clip logger, I call it. Better keyframing. Who doesn't want better keyframing in Final Cut Pro? I do. Absolutely like to see better keyframing. Brett says, very good. I'll look. Very rarely need for motion, but would be useful. I never thought to look. Yes, it's plus it'll loop on you, but the playhead will stay in the center. So I think it's still there. I don't know why. Do we have any idea how heavy the scrolling timeline impacts on available processor power? Is it negligible, light, medium, heavy? I think the reason that the scrolling timeline took so long is not necessarily the scrolling. It's keeping the live waveforms updated. I think that is absolutely why it's taken 12 years. Well, longer than that. They didn't have it in 7 either. It's taken that long for the version in 10, but it works really well for me. I like it. I mean, everything. I can zoom in and out and the waveforms update and stuff. I mean, it's on permanently for me. I always use it. Better audio mixer. A better audio mixer? Do you have a beta version of Final Cut Pro that has an audio mixer in it, Jeff? Because there's no audio mixer right now. Thank you very much for the thumbs up. It's appreciated. So now let me just say something. I'm not going to say where I heard this from. I'm not going to do anything like that. I've heard from the very beginning that Final Cut's had a scrolling timeline since the beginning. I've heard that from multiple people that should know. It did. It's been turned on. I've also heard that there was an iPad version of Final Cut Pro. A year ago, longer, 2 years ago, whatever, a year ago, I heard there was an iPad version of Final Cut Pro. It came to fruition. I've also heard that they have a mixer in Final Cut Pro, an audio mixer, roles-based mixer, whatever the heck that is. I've heard from the same people or it's not one person, it's just that I've heard that there is an audio mixer in Final Cut Pro. They haven't turned it on yet. I expect that to be forthcoming. Maybe in 2024. That'd be fantastic. I'd like to see batch export of clips from the timeline with color correction, stock footage shoots. Would love that. Okay, there you go. So now if you do batch exports of clips, they don't have, whatever you have in the timeline would be exported. You can't do the clips. You can do the entire clips, I think, unless you just cut it up. Open clip in the browser opens a clip in its own time. Any changes in its color, etc. persist. Yes, I realize. I do that all the time. One of the things which was very cool, Steve Martin showed us this at the Creative Summit. In Final Cut Pro 7, if you took the audio and video from the same clip and you could move the audio and video separately if they were out of sync. And little red icons would appear to tell you how many frames they were out of sync. Okay, so Final Cut Pro, people say, well, how do you get audio out of sync? These live streams. A lot of times I do the live streams and the audio and video are out of sync. Open up the clip, nudge them back into sync, and it stays with the clip. But there is a view, you can look at the time code of each clip. So if you take it out of sync, open up this window, look at the two time codes, one from the audio source, one from the video source, until they match up to put them back in sync. Steve Martin showed that trick. So that's pretty cool, but since Final Cut Pro is a sophisticated database, why can't Final Cut Pro do that automatically? Why can't they use that time code in the window? They have the information and show it on the clip itself. Here's the original sync. Here's how much you've modified it, like Final Cut Pro 7 used to do. Greetings from India. Native adjustment layer with the ability to affect the selected layers rather than all layers under it. Something similar to Magic Mask. Native adjustment layer with the ability to affect selected clips. I'm not sure. Let me see that. Selected clips rather than all the layers underneath of it. Okay. How would that? I'm not sure how you do that in Final Cut because you can't select tracks. But I understand what you're saying. You don't want to select. You don't want to affect everything. You want to affect some of the things. I'm not sure how you do that in Final Cut. With the range tool, you can export part of a clip in the time. No, I realize that. But I'm talking about batch exporting just the clips you have selected with in and out points with handles. With handles. I understand you can do it individually. It won't do individual clips from timeline easily. You have to make each clip Kanban clip export from browser. There you go. Yeah, I'd like to see the ability to mark up a clip in the browser, perhaps, and then export, or just make a bin of clips with in and out points and just export those in and out points plus handles. Because along with that same idea of batch exporting with handles, the ability to compact a library. So you can say, save this library and only include the media, once again, in and out points that I'm using with handles. Thank you very much for the thumbs up. So compact a clip. So if I have a clip, if I have a library, like for example, my Final Cut Pro Creative Summit library is 1.5 terabytes. And it might be bigger than that because then I found some footage on another phone that I put in recently. 1.5 terabytes. When I get done editing, I'm going to save that copy. I'll always have that master copy. But if I want a smaller version of that, just based on the project timelines that I have and the clips that I used, I like to make a new copy that just includes those clips with in and out points with handles. So it compacts. All the stuff that I'm not using is not included. Even if it takes a while, that'd be very, very cool. Square Eye Television Limited, sorry, just joined wishlist for 2024. I'd like to be 100% certain Apple's not going to drop Final Cut Pro anytime soon. Square Eye, let's drink to that. Hold on a second. There was a Q&A session at the Final Cut Pro Creative Summit. We had 5 people from the Final Cut Pro team. Thank you very much for the thumbs up. We had 5 people from the Final Cut Pro team, maybe 6. One was representing the iPad version. We had Bill Davis, who's in charge of the Final Cut Pro version. Some other people on the panel. When they opened up to questions, I was the first person to ask the first question. And I asked that exact question because I keep seeing that all over the place. I kept seeing this. Sorry, just joined wishlist for 2024. I'd like to be 100% certain that Apple is not going to drop Final Cut Pro anytime soon. The question I asked, well, here's what I did. I got the microphone and went in the aisle so I could see who I was talking to. They could see me. And I said, first off, I want to thank whoever's responsible for the scrolling timeline up there in that panel. Whoever's responsible for that, I said, thank you. That's the first thing I said. Secondarily, I said, listen, out there in social media, I see this all the time. People want to be reassured that Final Cut Pro is not going to go the way of Aperture, that you're not going to drop it at some point. Now, the response was unequivocally, absolutely, unequivocally, no, it is not going the way of Aperture. And they went on to say that we have plans for Final Cut Pro for the next 6 months, and we have plans for Final Cut Pro for the next 5 and 6 years. Next 5 and 6 years. Final Cut Pro is not going anywhere. It's 100% on the roadmap of Apple. It's going to stay there. So to answer your question, it's not going to be dropped. We got it directly from the Final Cut Pro team. Directly from the Final Cut Pro team. One of the other things they said, which I found refreshingly honest, although I'd like it to, well, here's what it was. They said, we are going to update Final Cut Pro according to our schedule and according to our agenda. We see all the requests online. We look at them. They watch somebody monitor social media where they get requests in with their portal, Final Cut Pro portal. They see them all the time, but they're going to update it according to their schedule. In other words, I've been complaining about not having a scrolling timeline for 12 years. They did it on their schedule. They got it at year 12. So that's pretty cool. They're going to update Final Cut Pro according to their schedule. They're not going to be pressured into doing this and pressured into doing that. They're doing it on their schedule. I found that refreshing that they're honest about that. They don't promise things that they're not going to deliver. I still want to give them some pushes to get some features out as quick as possible or as soon as possible. Square Eye says, great. Thanks, Richard. Absolutely. I can 100% ascertain that they are not going to drop it Final Cut Pro anytime soon. Yes, and no one needs a video screen on an iPod. Yes, well, that's true. That's the famous Steve Jobs quote. He goes, before they had video on the iPod, Steve Jobs said, who wants to watch video on a little screen like this? And then a year later, they had the video iPod. I have one somewhere. I have a couple. I have one of the old scroll wheel iPods, and I have a black video iPod as well. You're right, but this is not Steve Jobs. This is the Final Cut Pro team. So Final Cut Pro is not going anywhere. It's going to be developed for the next 6 months and for the next 5 or 6 years. It's already on the roadmap, things they're going to do. So here's what I expect. Text-based editing with auto captions. I expect an audio mixer, whatever they're doing with that, some kind of an audio mixing system to be coming out. And there's a lot of other things. I have 100 things, FCPX.tv. You can go over there. I mean, a scrubbable project in the browser would be nice. Here's another big one for me. I'd like to be able to organize plugins, titles, transitions inside of Final Cut Pro with drag and drop. In other words, I don't use nearly any of the titles that I have. I have 1,000 titles and effects and plugins. I like to be able to hide the ones I'm not using. Not delete them from the Finder, just hide them. Or at least be able to just drag them into a favorites folder inside of Final Cut. Like you can drag other things in the browser, clips and stuff. I like to be able to drag effects, titles. Let me make a favorite folder in Final Cut. Maybe one for one project. Maybe I have one for whatever I'm working on, music videos. Okay, these titles I want to work in music videos. So I'll make a favorites folder in the browser, music video titles. And I can just drag them and drop them in there, drag them and drop them in there, drag them and drop. Same with transitions, same with effects, drag and drop in Final Cut. I know I can do it in the Finder, but that's a pain. Can you place Final Cut Pro elements on more than 2 screens? I think I remembered it was possible with Final Cut Pro Classic. You mean 3 screens? Is that what you're saying? I think so. Maybe not. Here's the weird thing. So let me just let me just pull this up and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Let me show you what I'm talking about. This is my screen that I have right now. So let me turn this off. We don't need that. This is my screen that I'm broadcasting in. I have a program monitor. I have a preview monitor. You can see my audio right below there, the level meters. I can monitor, make sure audio is going out properly. There's a bunch of different layers. There's text. Over here I have, where is it? So I'm backwards. Over here I have the bandwidth statistics of when I'm streaming live. I can keep track of, make sure everything's going smoothly. I have sound source over there, which is the audio things. This is a 34-inch LG monitor. I used to like it a lot, and I still do like it. You can see everything I have. Everything I have is this is a nice screen for this. But what I found with Final Cut Pro is if I stretch the whole screen out to the full width, 34 inches, I can't see the inspector because my vision's not good enough. The inspector's too far away. So what I have to do is pull this Final Cut Pro interface closer so the effects, so the library is right in front of me rather than all the way over to the right-hand side. So I don't even want a bigger than 34-inch monitor anymore. But I have the 34-inch, I have another monitor to my left, and I have the MacBook Pro monitor below me. Effects can be completely organized with the Save Effects preset function, but there is no love for titles. But I said drag and drop. I want to go to the effects browser, drag an effect up, and be able to drop it into the favorites folder. I realize I can save one at a time with the effects saved. That's not what I'm talking about. I can also do it in the Finder. I can go into the Finder and organize titles and stuff. In Final Cut, I want to be able to select an effect in the effects browser and drag it up to my favorites folder. Or I want to be able to select 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 effects that I'm using and drag them up to my favorites folder, or have 2 favorites folder, or have 3 favorites folder. I understand you can save effects presets, not what I'm talking about. That's one at a time. You can also save it from motion, one at a time. I'm talking about organizing, just like you can in the browser with clips stuff. You can make your own favorite folder already in Final Cut Pro. More can also be made. You can't drag and drop from the interface of Final Cut Pro. I'm not talking about making a favorites folder with the save dialog or save effects preset. I want to do it in the effects browser, in the titles browser, in the generators browser via drag and drop. Right click, make favorite, make new folder, name it, drag and drop, visually. I'm not talking about making a single save favorite effects. I've been doing that for years with motion. It's just one at a time, and it's clunky. Visually, just like you can in the browser now, you can right click and make a folder. You can put clips in it, et cetera, et cetera. I want to do the same with titles, effects, transitions. Transitions is another one. Speaking of transitions, I'd like to see a transition audition, an audition just for transitions. Because right now, if you want to try out different transitions, you got to delete it, the transition, and go pull another one over top and delete it, and try another one. I'd like to see a transition audition where you can put it on the intersection of 2 clips and put multiple transitions in there and try each one out without deleting. Where'd that transition go? What was it? Did I have it specified? Did I organize it? Did I customize it? Et cetera, et cetera. So transition, auditions for transitions. So here we go. I have 3-screen Final Cut Pro Edit Suite. The only element I have found that can go on to the 3rd screen is a timecode window. That's interesting. Okay. That's good to know. I did not know that you couldn't use 3 screens. Don't do it in Motion or create your own favorites folder. These are separate new instances of the effect. You have to keep those in the exact same file path forever. Effects preset, well, one at a time is the way to go. They're just pointers. No, I don't agree with you, Brett. I want to be able to drag and drop and organize my effects inside of Final Cut. I don't want to have to do one at a time. I want to drag and drop, just like you can in the browser with clips. You can create a folder and drag clips in it in the browser. I want to do the same with effects, et cetera, et cetera. Whether they duplicate it or make pointers, I don't care. That's not the issue for me. The issue is drag and drop organization in the Finder, and also in the effects browser, a link to go to an effects browser titles store where you can buy things, try them out, and then buy them. That's something else I'd like to see. I mean, I've organized things in the Finder. That's what I do. Close Final Cut Pro, organize things, open Final Cut Pro back up, and that's how I've been doing it right now. But titles and everything else is the same. Agree, just saying effects preset is the only way you want to go for the time being. That's true. Of course, you're a developer. You work with this stuff at a much more granular level than I do. But yeah, I understand. Yeah, I do that now. But I also, it's just clunky. I'm surprised they don't have ability to do that. Plus the store. Wouldn't you like to see an effects store where you can go in the effects browser in Final Cut and buy your plugin? Try it out. Go to brettfx.com, try out Outliner FX2, do the trial, and then at some point go back, and I think that would be very, very cool. And the other thing is, I'd like to see in the file menu in Final Cut, export, make video viral. There should be a make video viral button up there, so your video automatically goes viral. Yes, Brett would like to see a store for to be able to buy his effects. Absolutely. And maybe a direct line to Tim Cook's office. That would be cool in Final Cut. I'm not sure if they're going to do that. Thank you very much for the thumbs up. It is appreciated. Everybody, absolutely everybody. We're going to do this one more time. Happy New Year. In case you're not watching at the end of this celebration, Happy New Year to everybody. 2024 is 2 days away, something like that. 2 days away. So we definitely want to do a Happy New Year for everyone. For people that are there. Happy New Year, Richard. Thanks for all you do, and here's to a great 2024. Absolutely. So here's the thing. 10.7 just came out November the 30th. November the 30th. It's only been out for a month. 2024 is the year of 10.7. There's going to be more features happening in 10.7. We've just started the era of 10.7. Final Cut Pro 10.7. Jim Ebbs, see you at NAB. Have we met before, Jim, at NAB? So in the past, thank you very much for the thumbs up. In the past, there's been Final Cut Pro-centric events at NAB. The Final Cut Pro teams have been there presenting 2016, 2017, 2018. They were on stage in 2019 on the Faster Together stage. Somebody was there. So I don't know of any Final Cut Pro-centric events at NAB. Thank you very much for the thumbs up. I don't know of any specific Final Cut Pro events at NAB this year. But there is going to be a super meet this year. Thank you very much for the thumbs up. Fantastic. There is going to be a super meet this year. They didn't have one last year. If anybody's watching on X/Twitter, do me a favor and post a comment, because it's supposed to be coming through now, but I don't see any comments. We get usually 100 or 200 people watching over there on Twitter, X/X. Most of the people, there were other Facebook and YouTube are the most of them, but I do broadcast on X as well, Twitter. And just do a comment, because we're supposed to be able to get comments now, but I haven't seen any comments. People aren't commenting on Twitter X/X. So, yeah, I'm already planning on going to NAB. Thank you very much for the heart. Somebody just gave me a heart. Look, 46 of these things, 46 of these, each one's an hour and a half, 2 hours long. And I do it. You show up. We have a great conversation all the time. We have a great conversation all the time. I enjoy it. Yes, Dan Berube is doing the Super Meet this year. He had according to his website, he had a medical issue. I think it was with his back. He had some surgery and stuff. So he didn't do it last year, but he is doing one this year. He's already announced it. It's on Monday night as usual. So the last time he did it at some park, it was like a rooftop restaurant. It was outdoors, but they had an indoor section. So if you felt more comfortable, the outdoor situation, you could do that. I don't know if he's going to be back there again. I don't know where it is, but it will be up. Tickets are very reasonably priced. I really enjoy that. If there's no other Final Cut Pro-centric events, don't know yet. It's a little bit early. We should know. I'll put my feelers out in January, February to see if there's going to be any Final Cut Pro-centric events. So Final Cut Pro team has presented in the Convention Center Hall in 2017 and 2018. They did 2 Final Cut Pro specific, with the team presented with case studies and things. That would be very cool if they can do that again. But we don't know what's going on yet. And then Steve Martin used to do the FCPX Guru Gathering, where he sponsored, he was in charge of a dinner where everybody got together. We can try to see if I can organize something on a smaller scale at NAB this year. We'll have to see how that goes. But there'll be more information in the first of the year. Considering buying a Quest 3, apparently it is possible to transcode the spatial recording from the iPhone to a Quest-compatible format and watch it in 3D. But it would be nice to see recording in 3D. Once recording in 3D. Yeah, they can do it on the iPhone 15 Pro Max. Now, you can record spatial video for the Apple goggles when they come out 2024. Everybody thinks they're going to be pretty cool. I'm looking forward to I'm not going to be recording in that spatial video. I wouldn't mind trying those. But here's the thing. So if you go to a friend's house and they have the Vision Pros, you can't use them, right? Because they have to be set up for your eyes specifically. For example, I have glasses. There has to be a prescription that goes in them. So I'm not sure if you can go over your friend's house and just slap on their goggles. I don't think you can do that. I think it's the way it works. As a matter of fact, from what I've read, you can't even order those to be delivered to your house. They have to go to an Apple store, and the person at the Apple store will set them up for you so they work properly with your vision. But once again, I would need a prescription. How much is that going to cost on top of the $3,500? A lot of interesting issues with those. I mean, I'm sure it's probably phenomenal to see in that space. I mean, even if you're editing on Final Cut Pro, to see the timeline out in space, that would be pretty cool. But you can't just go to a friend's house and say, hey, let me try on your goggles. That's not the way they work. Not at this point anyway. I have no idea how Quest 3 or Oculus does it. I have no idea in any shape or form. So I'm looking forward to 2024. Everybody, I'm sure, is as well. It's a day and a half away, something like that, day and a half away. And here's the events coming up that I know of. Well, 2 of them I know of that I'll be going to NAB. I'm already making plans to go to NAB. And I go specifically, thank you very much for the thumbs up. I go specifically to look for Final Cut Pro stuff. Now, usually people from the Final Cut Pro team are there talking to developers. Sometimes they have private meetings and stuff, and I've talked to different people from the team there. But and other times they've had presentations there. So maybe March, April, we'll see another update to Final Cut Pro with some new features. Be very cool. Just in time for NAB, or plus or minus just in time. Maybe it'll be a week before, 2 weeks. And that would be a good thing to raise some buzz about Final Cut Pro at the NAB, even if they're not going to present. But having like the Guru Gathering was phenomenal. I always enjoyed that. Super Meet is really, really cool. Those are two of my favorites. There's going to be no Guru Gathering as far as I know. Steve stopped doing that years ago. It's just too expensive and it's a lot of work for him. So the last one was, did they have one in 2019? I don't remember. They had one in 2017 and 2018. I don't remember if they had one in 2019 or not. Let me think. I don't think they did. LumaForge used to sponsor a lot of Final Cut Pro stuff. They had a Faster Together party for the Final Cut Pro people and other people as well. And then they took over the Super Meet in 2019, 2018. 2018. They took over the Super Meet in 2018. That's what it was. Was it? 16, 17? I can't remember. Anyway, they took over the Super Meet night one time, and 2019, I think it was. Yeah. And they had somebody from the Final Cut Pro team on the stage at that time. But I'll be going to NAB looking for Final Cut Pro stuff. I'll be reporting live once again on the YouTube channel, Facebook, etc. I did 9 separate live streams from the Final Cut Pro Creative Summit to let everybody know what was going on, because that's the important part to me, is that I want the Final Cut Pro community and at large to know what's going on. So I'll be doing the same thing at NAB this year, looking for Final Cut Pro stuff. I will stop at Blackmagic this time and talk to them. I've been there. They have the biggest, most grandiose setup at NAB all the time. I'll stop at Panasonic and talk to them about the Lumix S5 Mark IIX. I'll stop at OWC, although I think Sam's leaving OWC at the end of the year. I think he's going to be doing his own thing once again. So usually I go there to talk to Sam, but I also talk to Ronnie Cortins. I know Ronnie, so I'll stop there for that. Anything Final Cut Pro related, I'll stop in and talk to them. Usually I'm involved, Roger Bolton from CoreMelt. I do an interview with him a lot of times. Last time I did an interview with LumaFusion there. And also we did a interview with Digital Rebellion. Not Digital Rebellion, sorry. I always get this wrong. The one that does Beauty Box, my friend over there at Beauty Box. Let me just look it up. Oh, let me see. Digital Anarchy, that's what it is, Digital Anarchy. Usually I'll stop by and interview them, and also the Audio Design Desk. Last time I did an interview with them, they were talking about their new thing at NAB, so we'll see what happens this year. Happy New Year from the UK. Absolutely, absolutely. Happy New Year to you. 11:29. We've been on for 90 minutes. 90 minutes. What do you think? Thank you very much for all the thumbs up. I just appreciate it. Everybody, Happy New Year. Yes, Digital Anarchy. Yes, that's the one. And we're going to have more people on Final Cut Pro Radio this year, as we normally do for the year. We start our 9th year in January. 9th year. Thank you very much for the thumbs up. 9th year in January, we have over 2 million podcast downloads. That's separate from these live streams on YouTube. This is just the audio podcast that I have. FinalCutProRadio.com is where you can go, or you go to your favorite podcast aggregator, whatever you want. But I'm going to go ahead and get out of here for today. And everybody, this is all for you, right? This is all for you. Happy New Year. You've been a great, great Final Cut Pro audience for the last year. It's been great working with you. I really enjoy talking to you on Saturday mornings. We'll be back next Saturday, but it'll be the first one in 2024. And unless there's something else breaking with Final Cut Pro, which probably is not going to happen the first week of January, but who knows? We could see 10.7.2 at any point. I do expect new features to be coming out. Well, they will be in 2024. Have a great New Year, everybody. New Year's Eve, New Year's, whatever you celebrate. And I will see you on the other side in 2024. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Final Cut TV. A couple more comments. Thanks, everybody. Happy New Year's to all. Thanks, Richard. These broadcasts are great. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you, everybody. Talk to you later.